The environmental consequences of nuclear testing have been extensive and persistent, significantly affecting wildlife, marine life, ecosystems, and biodiversity. Atmospheric tests dispersed radioactive fallout globally, contaminating terrestrial and aquatic environments. Wildlife exposed to radiation exhibited increased rates of mutation, reproductive failures, reduced fertility, compromised immune systems, and population declines. Marine ecosystems, particularly near testing sites such as Bikini Atoll, suffered extensive damage including coral reef destruction, diminished fish populations, and long-term contamination of marine life. Soil and groundwater contamination have been notably problematic at sites such as the Nevada test site and the Marshall Islands. Radionuclides like cesium-137, strontium-90, and plutonium isotopes penetrated deeply into soil and groundwater, posing persistent environmental hazards. Remediation strategies have included soil excavation, containment and capping, groundwater pumping and treatment, and phytoremediation, using plants to absorb contaminants. While some success has been achieved, full remediation remains challenging due to the prolonged persistence of radioactive substances, particularly plutonium, which remains hazardous for thousands of years. Nuclear testing has raised profound ethical concerns, especially regarding indigenous and civilian populations who became unintended subjects of radiation exposure. Indigenous communities in the Marshall Islands and Nevada, among others, experienced severe health effects without informed consent or adequate protective measures. Ethical violations included lack of transparency, inadequate healthcare, and delayed risk disclosures. Indigenous populations often faced forced relocation, loss of traditional lands, and disruption of cultural practices and livelihoods. Psychological trauma and social disruptions have significantly impacted affected communities, causing increased anxiety, mistrust towards authorities, and disruption of traditional lifestyles and cultural practices. Social cohesion deteriorated, with health impacts and forced relocations fragmenting communities and exacerbating long-term socioeconomic challenges. Efforts to address these human rights concerns include advocacy for compensation, healthcare support, and historical injustices acknowledgement through legal actions, public education campaigns, and community-based initiatives aimed at restoring dignity and improving living conditions. The nuclear testing era led to significant advancements in public health infrastructure and emergency preparedness. Initially overwhelmed by the magnitude of radiation exposure, public health policies evolved considerably to address nuclear threats and fallout risks. Regulatory frameworks have strengthened, resulting in the establishment of radiation safety standards, comprehensive health monitoring programs, and ongoing surveillance systems to detect and mitigate radiation exposure risks. Emergency preparedness mechanisms have significantly improved. Systems for rapid radiation detection, population alerting, and emergency response have been established nationwide. Specialized training programs for medical and emergency personnel in radiation exposure management have become standard, enhancing national resilience against nuclear incidents. Hospitals and healthcare providers have developed specific protocols for radiation exposure management, treatment of acute radiation sickness, and long-term monitoring of exposed populations. Nuclear testing significantly influenced popular culture, shaping films, literature, art, and public awareness campaigns. Films such as Godzilla, Dr. Strangelove, The Day After, and documentaries like Atomic Cafe explored themes of nuclear devastation, Cold War anxieties, and ethical considerations around nuclear capabilities. Literature like On the Beach, Alas, Babylon, and Hiroshima further captured the existential fears and moral dilemmas associated with nuclear technology and warfare. Media played a crucial role in shaping public perceptions about nuclear safety and the threats posed by nuclear technology. Public awareness campaigns educated citizens on radiation risks, fostering societal attitudes toward nuclear policies. The increased transparency and public discourse fostered by media scrutiny contributed to greater accountability and policy reform, influencing nuclear disarmament, testing bans, and international nuclear safety standards. These cultural representations have helped ensure nuclear testing remains a critical topic in global dialogue and public consciousness. The financial implications of nuclear testing programs have been substantial, encompassing direct costs, cleanup efforts, healthcare expenses, and compensation. The direct costs of conducting nuclear tests included constructing and maintaining testing facilities, developing nuclear technology, and supporting extensive scientific research and personnel. Cleanup and remediation efforts, particularly at contaminated sites like Nevada Test Site and Bikini Atoll, have involved billions of dollars in public funds to mitigate environmental and health hazards. Healthcare expenditures associated with radiation exposure from nuclear testing have been extensive, covering acute treatment, long-term medical monitoring, and ongoing care for chronic health conditions such as cancers and birth defects. Compensation programs such as the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, RECA, have distributed over $2 billion to affected individuals and families, reflecting acknowledgement of the long-term economic and health burdens borne by impacted communities. The economic impact on communities near testing sites has been multifaceted. While initially benefiting from employment opportunities and local investments, communities experienced significant economic disruption due to health crises, environmental degradation, and stigmatization associated with radioactive contamination. Agricultural, fishing, and tourism industries in affected regions faced prolonged declines, exacerbating local economic instability and necessitating substantial public and private investment in recovery and redevelopment initiatives. Overall, while nuclear testing contributed to technological and military advancements with perceived national security benefits, these came at significant economic and human costs. Comprehensive analysis of these costs underscores the necessity for responsible nuclear policies and robust mechanisms to support and rehabilitate affected populations and environments.